Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Linda Seacrest, a co-founder and board member of the Southwest Florida Reset Center. Welcome to Reset Conversations, an ongoing series of conversations with regional leaders about regenerative agriculture, rights of nature, and clean water initiatives in Southwest Florida. Reset Center, for any of you who are new, is located on the 12-acre campus of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fort Myers, located at 13411 Shire Lane in Fort Myers. We're a not-for-profit organization with the aim of mitigating or reversing the effects of global warming brought on by greenhouse gas emissions and other human activities. We focus specifically on addressing the root causes of our issues here in the Southwest Florida bioregion. RESET is an acronym. It represents restoration of the natural world as much as we can influence it from our place in Southwest Florida. E represents the ecological aspect, S the social, E economical, and a tough one, transformation of many of our organizations and governmental agencies. This is our 6th Reset Conversation, and we're glad to have some of you back in a continuing series of Zooms with people on the leading edge of the way forward, people with strong records of advocacy and accomplishment, people from whom we can all learn. Each of our conversations is moderated by a member of the Reset Board and includes a Q&A from attendees. So before we move on, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Please keep yourself muted during the program. We'll have a Q&A after our speaker's presentation. If you have any questions for the speaker that you'd like to ask, you can put them in the chat. And if any of you wish to ask those questions directly, you can let Holly know, because she will be taking the questions and addressing them to Shawron. So now I'm going to turn the program over to Gary Robbins, who is the Vice President and Treasurer of RESET, and he's going to introduce our speaker, Shawron. Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you, Linda. It is my great pleasure to introduce Shawron Weingarten, Doctor of Plant Medicine and Manager of Agricultural Programs at St. Matthew's House, Justin's Place. Shawron was born and raised in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and graduated from the University of Florida with specialty in agronomy and entomology, plant pathology, horticultural science, with work experience in Southwest Florida as an entomologist, as a citricologist, biological control specialist, research coordinator, floriculture pest manager, vegetable horticulture, biological scientist, and all kinds of things that I could use here at my condo. So I'm looking forward to see what he has to share with us today. He began work with St. Matthew's House in October of this past year, 2020, which has agricultural program sites in Alva, which is Jill's Place Women's Recovery Center, where they work with livestock and vegetable and fruit crop production, as well as an apiary. And LaBelle is Justin's Place Men's Recovery Center with macadamia tree orchard, poultry, vegetable and fruit crop production, apiary, and vertical hydroponic system. And in Naples, Justin's Place Motivational Track Shelter, vertical hydroponic system. Integrate agricultural knowledge and work using sustainable practices for men and women recovering from substance abuse. And the mission of Justin's House is to change lives in a spiritual environment that is both compassionate and disciplined, as we provide housing for the homeless, food for the needy, and comfort for the addicted and suffering. And the beliefs and the principles are helpful, healing, excellent, God honoring. And they provide excess food from the 3 properties for the food pantry to support SMH feeding ministries. So thanks so much for being with us here today, Shawron, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you everybody for joining in today. The introduction was pretty thorough. As Gary mentioned, I'm a native Floridian and ended up going to the University of Florida, really not knowing what to study, but loved science and loved nature, and they had created this new doctoral program as I was graduating from the agronomy, Department of Agronomy. And I always knew I wanted to get a higher degree than a bachelor's. And in all my experiences after graduation in different sectors of the agricultural industries locally, St. Matthew's House had an opening. My predecessor decided to go back to school and fulfill her dream. And so in my capacity over the last few months, I've tried to build upon what Eleni had began, and basically try to provide an opportunity for the men and the women in our recovery program to learn about agriculture and the beauty of God's creation, and how through working with their hands and growing plants and taking care of livestock and animals, that would help them in their own recovery and healing. And it's a year-long program when people first get admitted. And as Gary mentioned, we do have a women's center in Alva and a men's center in LaBelle, and down in Naples, where everybody will start at our motivational track. They do have a hydroponic garden there, which at least gets their hands dirty and introduces them as they're just beginning on their recovery. So I have a few slides that I don't know if I could share here. Let's see. Oh, no. Got to share screen first. Can everybody see that?
Not yet.
Nope.
I cannot see it yet.
Okay, well, I don't think this is going to work with the screen sharing, then I'm sorry.
Holly, excuse me. Holly, you might want to make him the host.
Yes, I did.
Just did it.
I did.
Okay.
He's got it. I did. Thank you, David. Yeah.
Did that work?
Yeah, that works. You just need to press your presentation button so we see the full
Yes,
thing.
we can see it now.
Okay, so as Gary mentioned, I just took a few screenshots from our homepage. Basically, we began. I think it was three women, 3 nuns that noticed the homelessness problem in the Naples area, and they began serving meals out of a local church, and then from there it just grew. The need had always been there, but it was just I think it was a newspaper, a picture in the newspaper that got their attention. And so we are a nonprofit, but we are a faith-based organization, and we just try to offer help not just to the addicted, but also to the homeless and to the hungry. And part of the agricultural program is that any excess foods that we would grow beyond what can feed the residents in the men's and women's center is that we would give to our food pantry, and then they would distribute that to the community through direct assistance or through our feeding ministries. Let's see here. So our core beliefs are just helpful, healing, and excellence, and God honoring, and we just try to live by those four creeds, and do as much as we can for people in our community. So here's where I was, the story of how we began in 1987, the story of the Naples parishioners, and we have a lot of cooperative or groups, churches and other nonprofits that we collaborate with, and now with Reset. And I think as a Southwest Florida community, I think we can all learn from each other, and especially if we are trying to grow or do any or start any agricultural programs at your organizations, we can definitely collaborate. So briefly about the Doctor of Plant Medicine program, it's a multidisciplinary program that has incorporates entomology and plant pathology and plant production, and it's actually the first of its kind when it was established. And there's only 2 other universities in the whole world that have a similar program that they modeled after it. It was founded by a plant pathologist, Dr. George Agrios. So this is a shot of the men's center at the Port LaBelle Inn and Conference Center in LaBelle. This is our hydrogen stacker system. It's a patent pending system that we bought from a gentleman, and basically it's just a vertical growing system that feeds from the top, and gravity carries the water and the nutrients down the column. It's not a closed system, but it is efficient enough where you don't get a lot of runoff, and so it's environmental. It is environmentally friendly if it's managed properly. In this picture, in the front on the left side, we have some romaine lettuce growing that needs to be harvested, and then on the back side we had some arugula growing. Right now with these hot temperatures, there's not a lot that you could be growing. We purchased the system with the idea of growing strawberries. That's what was marketed for, but it's pretty universal. You can grow a lot of different things using this system. The second floor of the building are that house the it is a functioning hotel, and then the third floor is where the houses the men that are in the Justin's Place recovery program. So if you ever driving through LaBelle and you need a place to stay, we have rooms for rent. Just a close-up picture of the system, the lettuce and the arugula. In the foreground, this is what we call the chef's garden. So we grow a lot of different things in here, primarily herbs and the cook that feed that we do have. The men can enter different tracks as they're in the program, and one of the tracks is learning the culinary arts. So we'll work with the chef, and then some men will also will work with the agricultural program, and some will do maintenance. We have a maintenance team. So we're trying to give skills to the men and to the women as they're going through the program, that when they leave, that they could carry with them some life skills. And so right here, it looks like we've got some rosemary. I don't think okay. I don't know if you can see my mouse. A little bit of rosemary, some basil. We had, I sensed some mints going over here. I think some lemongrass. There's a dragon fruit cactus in there. A little bit of everything, a smorgasbord. Here is a picture we have. I don't know. We're gonna try to have the largest macadamia nut tree orchard in Southwest Florida. We had quite many more, but Hurricane Irma took down a lot of trees. There are 3 varieties in here, and right now we've got a nice crop on the trees. So I didn't, before joining St. Matthew's House, I didn't know that we could grow macadamia trees in our climate, but it's very similar to Hawaii, I believe, is where they grow it. So we're trying to see. I'm going to be collecting data, and maybe it's a viable alternative crop to our citrus growers who are battling greening. Of the three properties, our LaBelle location has the largest acres of land. So I've got a lot of room to try different things. This area, what we call the food forest, we got I think maybe 5 or 6 different varieties of banana trees. And in the foreground, I believe there's I've got some close up of some other pictures. We got some citrus, some guava, a blueberry bush in there hiding. What else? There's a close up of the bananas that are growing. Our guava with the one flower is taken off. Here we have mango trees, trying to diversify our plantings. So we anticipate putting in different varieties of mango trees that I guess we harvested at different times of the year, so we could stagger our harvests. And we intend to try to put in some avocado trees and a lot of different fruit trees that we're blessed to be able to grow with Pine Island, all the Pine Island nurseries close by. We have a large area where we'll raise beds where we'll grow our vegetables. And as I was mentioning earlier, the climate right now, the summertime temperature heat is just too hot to be growing. So we're basically improving our soil right now and growing a few crops. It's hard to see some lettuce. I want to say, I can't recall what's in there. And I know we have okra growing, okra, and perhaps we have some flowers. We try to attract native pollinators and beneficial insects. But right now we're trying to get ready for our fall planting. Here today I was out there and checking on our bees, and so I'm fortunate to have a newly retired bee mentor. So we're building up our hives, and hopefully we'll be able to teach beekeeping to the residents who are interested. So another skill that they could use, because I know locally we have wonderful bees just up the road here in Punta Gorda. I think that might have been the last slide. So let me get out of the screen sharing if I can. How do I exit the screen sharing?
There should be a little button that says stop share. And
I see it.
red. Yeah, there you go. You got
Okay,
it.
we're back. I didn't have the time. Jill's place is a little bit smaller of a facility. We have some goats there, and the plan is to try and have some goat cheese. We do have a retired horse that came with the property, so the residents also learn about caring not just of plants but of animals, of other living creatures, living beings. So we try to incorporate. So during the part of the day, they're taking classes, they're learning about scripture and self-healing, and then the other part of the day, they're at least in my department, that we're learning in agriculture, and we're toiling in the fields and just developing a routine to try to get out of the old habits and learning discipline and the beauty of nature and plants that God has blessed us with to feed us and to clothe us. Everything really comes from Mother Earth. So that's really all I've got about St. Matthew's House. The plan is to expand our operations and grow enough food where we're providing our extra bounty to help feed the community. I think COVID has shown us that there's a lot of food insecurity out there, on top of all the people who had lost their jobs. So if we can help out, the community in any way, it's just a blessing for everybody.
Okay, thank you ever so much. We, I believe, have some questions in the chat that we will get to in just a minute, but I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit about how many people you are actually serving. What do you call them? Are they students or patients, or and how can you speak just a little bit about funding of the agency as well?
Sure. So we don't, we're not like an official accredited recovery program. We don't have any like doctors or psychiatrists on staff where we're, prescribing medication. But a lot of the, we don't charge anything for anybody who comes to us seeking help. Most of our funding comes through donations, and also we operate social enterprises. So we have thrift stores in Naples, Bonita, and Fort Myers, and people will donate their goods, and then we'll sell them, and that will help fund all the different ministries and community outreach that we have. Right now, I want to say it went from a few hundred meals a month to thousands of meals a month during COVID this past year. It was crazy. It was sad, but it was also wonderful that we stepped up and we were able to do what we did. I feel really proud of our organization, and also the partners in our community that helped, where we set up our food distribution sites. But a lot of the local farmers too out in Immokalee, they couldn't sell their product, their produce, and so they donated a lot to us, and then we were able to distribute to the community, because just for logistics, we had it already in place. Harry Chapin Food Bank helps us out a lot, and we have a really wonderful group of generous donors and benefactors. Justin's place is named after a gentleman who lost his life, Justin Holacek, the Holacek family, and as a memory to him, they've become very important benefactors for us. The idea too with the agricultural program is that if we could also, the idea is to also set up social enterprises on the agricultural side. So on top of Lulu's Kitchen, where we have a restaurant in Naples where men and women can learn how to be servers or line cooks in the culinary arts. We're trying to also teach landscape maintenance skills, or just agricultural production skills, beekeeping, as I mentioned. Hopefully we'll be able, we have begun to sell some of the macadamia nuts because they're so delicious and they're so expensive, and bottling some of our honey to help offset some of the costs to cover the program.
Mhm.
But we're very fortunate and blessed as far as what we're able to do, and not really have to charge money to help the needy.
That's incredible. I do want to mention, and I see that Holly or someone else has put into the chat, that some of the vertical growing system that you have in LaBelle was financed in part by the Southwest Florida Climate Action Fund, which was set up by the founders of RESET itself. So we're very much a part of your business and your wealth of service to the community. So we're very happy to to have that relationship with you. There's a question about whether your plantings are organic or near organic, or if there's a relationship in the way that you're organized and thinking about permaculture principles incorporated into your facilities and into your work.
So we don't necessarily, we're not certified organic. I don't know what was put into the soil before I arrived, but we definitely do not use any harsh or hard chemicals on anything we use. I try to, with my background in entomology, I'll try the biological control or softer natural insecticides before I have to use the big guns. Right now we do have we are not certified organic, and we do have to employ pesticides at a certain point. We live in Florida, you can't. It's very difficult. And the other we have employed permaculture techniques on both properties, that's my predecessor Eleni Patitsas used to work at Echo Global Farms in North Fort Myers. So a lot of the tree crops, that perennial tree crops that we have on our properties have come from Echo in their nursery. So yes, it's a big part of our program.
Okay, and then we have another question about does the organization provide services to the homeless other than food? Any creative suggestions for transition housing for the homeless?
Yeah, the answer to both those questions is yes. So down in Immokalee, we have a shelter, the Immokalee Friendship House, and then also in Naples, Campbell Lodge acts as a homeless shelter as well. And then when you go or finish the program in Naples, we have apartment buildings where we call Wolf Apartments. So as they're transitioning out of the recovery program and they are seeking employment or they have employment, they're able to stay in a supervised and relatively supervised environment as they acclimate back into society at with subsidized rates of rent. So where it's just a complete a program really to try to get people help. Everybody comes to us for different reasons, but we really try to get them back on their feet and become an active participant in society.
Okay, thank you. And before we open the floor to others, Holly or Linda, do you have any questions before we move on?
I see Linda just put a question in the chat, so we can start with that one.
Yeah, my question was, how many people do you generally have in your program at any one time in all your different places?
That's a wonderful question. I think that was part of the previous question that I forgot to answer. So I don't know, don't quote me on the numbers, but I know the Campbell Lodge shelter can hold quite a few. I want to say at least 40 or 50 people. We just had a rededication ceremony recently in the last few months where we added a few extra rooms and redid the kitchen, because that used to be where we cooked all the meals for the prepared meals for the feeding ministry. But since Lulu's Kitchen has now been open, and then things have been moved around. And then at the Wolf Apartments, the transition housing, I want to say also like up to 50 or 60 people can live there. And also we have rooms for mothers with children, so it's like a little a complete apartment where they wouldn't have to necessarily share the place with a roommate. And in LaBelle, we have currently, I want to say 25 5 men in the agricultural program, but closer to 50 men within the whole program. Like I said, we have a couple other programs that they can go into. It's not just agriculture that the skills that they could learn. And then in Alva, our women's center, we just completed the remodeling of a new house there on property. So that opened up an additional 7 to 10 beds. So currently, I believe we're up to I think 20 women in Alva. So the need is there. I know we have some openings, and we have staff that are trying to, see if anybody needs a bed or a spot, that, where we're getting the right individual.
I
Okay.
have one other comment that I'd like to interject before Gary takes over, is that I have eaten at Lulu's Kitchen. For any of you who have not been there, the food is very good. The place is beautiful. I mean, it lifts your spirit when you go in there. It's very clean, white and green. It's just very uplifting. And for any of you who are going through LaBelle, you really owe it to yourself to stop there and see the operation. We also, I know that Gary and myself and some of the other members stopped there, and we had lunch there, and we met the people and went through the hotel. It's quite an impressive operation for anyone who's never been there. You owe it to yourself to take a drive out and see it.
Thank you,
Gary,
Linda.
I'll turn it over to you then.
Okay. Other questions, please just raise your hand. And
I think I saw one pop up about the women with children. Yeah, some of the residents, female residents, do have children, and sadly, because each of their situations, as I said, they are different, but many of them, haven't seen their children in months and or years due to, I guess, their addiction or court remanded decisions. And so the few times that I've seen the reunions, it's very emotional when a mother gets to see their child, that they haven't been able to spend that much time with for months and or years. It's
Wow. I'm so impressed.
okay.
So impressed, Shawron, with the work at St. Matthew's House. And the whole time that you're speaking, I find myself asking my own self, how can we support St. Matthew's House in this incredible bioregional work that you're doing that is really lifting people up out of despair and addiction and homelessness and domestic violence through connecting them with nature? This is exactly the kind of networking that the Reset Center would really like to enhance. And our plan has been to create a food forest at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fort Myers. There's 12.5 acres there. And in partnership with FGCU, we have applied for a USDA grant. And what part of that grant requires of us is that we create, or that we hook up and network more with everyone that is growing food, whether it's in community gardens or smaller gardens that are benefiting other communities, so that we can have more communication, more exchange of information, of seeds, of food, and distribution, especially when we have emergencies like a hurricane or a pandemic. And so I don't know how we can support you the most, but I do know that you could probably use financial contributions, right? So
sure. The if the website, the screenshot of our homepage, stmatthewshouse.org, has links if anybody would like to make a financial contribution or donation, and it's obviously tax deductible, since we are a nonprofit. But likewise, the reverse is the same, is that we do service projects for local organizations, churches. And so if you ever needed a dozen men to help plant or do whatever kind of project there, if we're going to do try to
Oh,
set up a permaculture forest, then we would be glad to bring a van full of men and help you guys set that up.
that is really awesome.
that's wonderful.
We actually do need some help with some projects this summer, and we are hoping that Alex Nikesh's class, permaculture class, his second summer semester, they're going to help us with rebuilding our soil and composting better on our property. But I think that there's some projects that we would love to do side by side with you. We just laid a labyrinth in stone, which is a walking prayer you might be familiar with. And we're hoping to build a ADA pathway to that will go through the food forest. So there's lots of projects that we have in mind to do as a Reset Center and also as the Unitarian Universalist Church. And we are going to need volunteers on that level. I noticed Bonnie Clancy is on this call with us today, and we're hoping that she's going to be able to help us on our Regenerative Agriculture Committee. And if there's other people here on this call that feel like you would like to be part of a small committee that looks at how to work on that property and help us partner with groups like the St. Matthew's House, please contact us at the Reset Center and help us become a hub so that we can support organizations like St. Matthew's House. You are such an inspiration, what you're doing. And it really made us happy to see the hydroponics. Your photo of the hydroponics just made my heart sing with happiness, because when we first funded that and we saw the very first crops, they were becoming a little puny at that, but that looks like a second or third harvest now. And that looks fabulous what you're doing there.
It's taken me a couple attempts to understand how everything works, but we've gotten a handle on things. And yes, we got the pH and all set.
That's really great.
And our nutrients.
Great.
Getting the pH is right, and that's something that I think we probably do need help with. And so I was really also impressed with the macadamia nut trees. I was wondering how long they take to grow and how they would work in a configuration in a food forest. Would we want to put 1 tree or 3 trees? We see doing a lot of mulberry trees because they're fast growing and they're such great pollinators, and the birds love them and people love them. But how fast do the macadamia nut trees grow from planting them?
The history of those, I want to say those trees are at least 5 or 6 years old. And they won't produce probably until year 4, 5, or 6. So this might be either the second or the third harvest we're getting off of them.
Mm-hmm.
They flowered in January for about a month, maybe 6 weeks, and they should be ready matured in October, November. So we'll have some in the fall.
That's really great. We do have some time left. I've kept everything on a speaker view because I'm recording this for other people to see afterwards. But I'm going to go on gallery view right now so that I can see all of you, and maybe some of you really knowledgeable and dedicated people might have some other questions for Shawron or for any of us. So if you do, just feel free to raise your hand because we're all on one screen. Bonnie, you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you were talking about macadamia, and I was wondering, you use grafted, how much quicker does that produce nuts? Aren't you using grafted plants, or aren't you? I thought you were.
Yeah, so the trees that are existing in the ground, there was a gentleman, an older gentleman in LaBelle that had a really huge planting of macadamia trees, and he sadly has passed away, and his family pushed the entire orchard. I don't know why. So we are only we're propagating our new trees with air layering.
Air layer.
So, but at some point, you know, as I investigate and learn more about macadamia trees, yes, we could buy some, you know, pre-grafted trees. But I haven't used any grafting techniques right now. Still
Good.
learning.
Good. I did see one other question that I had missed from Mary Tracy. I don't know if she's still here. Are you still here? There you
Yeah.
are. Yeah,
Yes,
she was asking about your recidivism rate of the St. Matthew's House, which is always an interesting question when we're talking about recovery.
Yes, I have. Since I began in October, I've seen one individual who left and has come back. And and then as I've met the new men and women as they've come along, I've heard that you know, they had to come through the program in prior years too. So it is. I don't have the exact number, but yes, it is. It's not uncommon for people to have went through the program, to go out and then fall back down, and then amazingly, we, you know, if there's an opening, you know, we take them back and they'll go through the program. I believe the curriculum has evolved a little bit, so maybe the classes or the things that they would learn this time around would have been different from when they were possibly have gone through the program in months or years prior. But yes, it does happen. Yes.
Right.
It's a struggle. I mean, we have like a saying, it's a daily struggle for people to not go back. You know, we've had people who started the program and they couldn't handle the rules or the structure, and they walked off property. We you know, we can't force anybody to stay, and they have the right to leave whenever they choose. So that's happened as well. But they know we're here to help them if they choose to ask.
It seems like a big difference in other residential recovery programs that I'm familiar with. And unfortunately, I'm familiar with quite a few around the country because addiction, it runs in my family. I'm in recovery from alcohol myself. I never ever talk about it to people, but I know how hard it is. It is one day at a time. And part of the reason that I stopped drinking, I'm just telling this because there's power in story, but part of the reason I stopped drinking, besides having a hard time stopping once I started, was because of my son. And my son was dually addicted to drugs and alcohol. And he tried many residential programs and NA and AA, and nothing worked until he got into a program. I know I mentioned this to you, Shawron, yesterday, but he got into a program that incorporated mindfulness, meditation, and spending time in nature. And he has remained clean and sober for 6 years now. And so I am so proud of him. And I really think that what made a difference for him not to fall off the wagon, even during the pandemic, was the meditation was part of it, but him connecting, really deeply connecting with nature, maybe for the first time ever in his life, because he's been such an urban person, really made a difference for him. So I think there's so much power and healing in working with plants, putting our hands in the dirt, seeing a seed grow, and then be able to have it be food that gives us energy. And we're so impressed how much you share. You grow enough food, not just to feed your own residents, but to share with others. And I think a great goal and commitment for all of us here today would be to do everything we can to increase food security here in Southwest Florida. And I know I recognize a lot of your faces, and I know that's something that you really, really care about. So this has been very inspiring. I'm wondering if Linda or Gary, you have any other things you want to say, or anybody here before we close for the day.
No, I just want to make sure that I thank Shawron for coming on. I mean, I don't think enough people know about exactly all about the St. Matthew's House. So anytime that we have an opportunity to help you spread the word, we're more than happy to, and support your organization.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for coming.
I would think I was telling Holly and Gary yesterday is that I lived in Lee County for a decade and I had not heard of St. Matthew's House. Now we've gotten better. I think we've hired a few people to, I don't know, like PR, but we do have a local celebrity, Bob Urzik. I forget what channel he was on. I don't know if it was Wink News, but he's on the St. Matthew's House team. And so I know he does a lot of outreach and we're almost like each night on the news, it seems like there's a story about us, about one of our food distribution sites. And I get text messages from the Lee County School Board saying, that, they're having, they have food distribution at one of the, for anybody who's got their kids enrolled in the public schools. So it's amazing. But our duty is also to expand the, I guess, not advertising, but the exposure so people do know who we are and what we do, because it's just amazing, and I think more people would be willing to help or even to volunteer their time, if they choose to. They don't have to give financially, but even maybe their time or their knowledge or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting. So people can volunteer there other than agricultural. So good.
Yes, we've had some restrictions with the COVID, but I know as we will be allowing accepting volunteers again. You have to apply. You have to go through a little bit of a application process.
Thank you.
So
David, looks like you were ready to ask a question there.
David Jutro, did you have a question?
Shawron, a question for you. Do you compost everything that from your plants and vegetables? And if you do you just let it sit for a year or so and then just put it back into the soil?
So we're trying different composting methods. It's actually one of the topics that we've discussed in the class. So once a week we have an agricultural class where we're in a classroom type setting, and I've got my computer and we're doing I'm talking about principles of not just classroom type principles, some of the science behind everything, and we take all the food scraps from their kitchen and as well as some of the animal wastes. So the barns, the stall, the hay, and the manure from the animals, we throw it all in there, and depending on the temperature and how quickly it breaks down, we incorporate back into our gardens.
Okay. And Shawron, one last question. On the aspect of volunteers that would possibly help out with community gardens, have you done anything like that in the past?
I have on a personal level, yes. Up at the University of Florida, they have the Bat House, and I rented a little plot there. And I know at Lakes Park here in Fort Myers, you can rent a little space on their raised beds. And I understand that the Extension Service has a program to help expand community gardens. And so I'm willing. I think it's a wonderful idea. It's almost like the Victory Gardens of the
Right.
World War II era. And so I think we should be going back to that, and because people have no idea where food comes from, and it's not just at the store. There's a lot that goes into food production, and it also has to do, there's a lot of issues related to that, global warming and, water scarcity issues and water quality issues, obviously, that Reset is very involved with locally. So labor issues.
So if we wanted to pursue that with you, could we contact you and talk to you about that then?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay,
wonderful.
thank you very much.
Sure.
That's great, Dave.
I know that there are several people in the group here who are related to meditation. And I'm wondering, is meditation part of the spiritual practice that you promote in your group?
We do. So we have, as I said, we have the agricultural program, but there's also a ministry where they have programming, and they sit in classes, and I believe they've adopted, the men have it's called like the Genesis program, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it follows a step-by-step process, and I know meditation is a part of the self-healing process that they go through, learning about spirituality, and just in healing. And yes, I think it's for sure it's a part of reflection, meditation, all of the above.
Yes, good. Thank you.
The reason I've been holding this book up, Gary and everybody, does it look backwards to you, or can
No,
you?
it's fine. It's good.
Okay. So
Good.
this book, Drawdown, this is the most comprehensive plan for reversing global warming now in the next 20 years. And Shawron, I don't know if you've ever seen this book assembled by Paul Hawken.
We have a gift for you.
We would like to give this to you as a gift
Oh, very nice.
for the sharing of yourself today. And I think not only you, but the individuals that you're working with might be very, very inspired by some of the drawdown solutions that are in here. One of the very biggest ones is reducing food waste. It's a huge drawdown solution. And that's something that just composting, if we could all just compost or eat seconds and eat all our leftovers and reduce our food waste, that's really huge. There's a lot of other things that are really powerful drawdown solutions too. Regenerative agriculture is one of the huge ones, and protecting our coastal wetlands are part of our reset mission statement. But we want to give this book to everybody in the world, but especially lawmakers, our elected officials, people running for office, and people that are already doing the good work on the ground like you. So this will be a gift for you. And I also just wanted to say to everybody that we've been having these reset conversations once a month since January. And our focus has mostly been on regenerative agriculture. And they will continue to be, as well as for the right to clean water and resiliency. And what we want to do next is we want to have our next program be a really quality program about all of these subjects, but how to talk about them with people that are under 50. So we're going to have a panel. We want to create a panel with youth, with 4 or 5 young people that are between the ages, say, of 18 and 30 at the oldest. Maybe a millennial as well can moderate it. So we're looking at putting together such a panel, because all of us, each of us here in this, in trying to build our movements and our organizations that are really trying to help people with things like food security and climate justice and food justice and regenerative agriculture, we're finding that we are not reaching and engaging with younger people. So we want to have a conversation with some younger people. And I'm putting this out there to all of us, and we didn't even talk about it as a board yet, to me to throw this out here today, but I'm I'm feeling moved to say, if you know one or two really young people that would like to be in a reset conversation with us about how to talk about the environment and helping Mother Earth and recovery and resiliency and regeneration, please let us know. Please email us, give us a call, however you want. Go to our website, sign up for a newsletter, because we really want to be in touch and we want to learn how to engage and have meaningful conversations with a more diverse cross-section of our community. And I just see that Gary just put something great in the chat. So we'll turn the subject to clean water as we close.
Yes, and some of you were present for the session that we had on Saturday, and I just want to bring to your attention the right to clean water, state constitutional amendment. You may be aware that in November, the folks in Orange County produced an amendment to their county charter, granting themselves a right to clean water and a right to the water systems of the county to exist, to flow, to be pollution-free, and to have a healthy ecosystem, as well as to give standing to citizens of the county. And we are now trying to bring this same benefit to all of the people of Florida. And so if you see that I put in there fl5.org, and you can go there and you can sign up for 5 petitions, and they cover the right to clean water, a captive wildlife hunting ban, which is an interesting thing. We have places in Florida where you can go hunt an exotic animal, and they'll import an exotic animal for you to be able to go shoot. And I had never had any idea that such a thing existed in Florida. But if you want to shoot a giraffe, they'll get a giraffe for you so that you can shoot it. We're working on a ban for that. There's a toll road expansion ban because of how destructive they are to waterways and wildlife. Florida species, iconic species protection, and then Florida wetlands protection as well. And these are all 5 different amendments to the Constitution to help solve some of the very basic kinds of things that we're talking about in bringing Florida back in a very healthy way. We need healthy water, we need healthy land, and these things are things that will help us do that.
Yes, and don't shoot the giraffes. We agree about that, or the rhinoceros.
Crazy.
Thank you. So,
okay. Any other questions before we leave? We're almost at 4 o'clock. We try to keep them at an hour. Anything else? Any closing comments? Yes, Linda, go ahead.
Make sure. I'd like to ask the question, if anybody has any subjects, topics, whatever, that they think that they would like to see us address, people they would like to have us included in our programs as speakers, please let us know. We're open to collaborating with different organizations within our bioregion. So it's not just the Naples area. So please feel free to let us know. We'll love your suggestions. That's it for me, Gary.
all right.
Okay. And I think that concludes our program for the day. Thank you all for attending. Thank you, Shawron, for your wonderful presentation and the wonderful work.
Thank you to each of you for signing on today and listening to me, and also to Ted Brown, who's not here on our Zoom, but he was the one who reached out to me originally. And so, yes, thanks for having me today.
It is indeed very much a part of today's program. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Ted met with us yesterday. He couldn't be here today, but he will be popping back from time to time from Connecticut, and he is remaining on our advisory board. So draw down, everybody. have a really safe next month and a half until we see you again on a reset conversation. And who knows, we might come up with some surprising program between now and then. So
Okay,
thank you all very
thank you
much.
very much.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Awesome program. Really loved it.